Hi, everybody. This is Rashid Darden. I am the national president of Gamma Xi Phi, the fraternity for artists. And we are so honored to have with us today, in commemoration of World Suicide Prevention Day, Tiara N. Watford, LCSW.
Hi.
Tiara is the clinical director and outpatient therapist for Polished Pearls Counseling and Coaching Services. Tiara specializes in stress management, trauma, depression, self-esteem. She works with teenagers. She deals with issues of anxiety, anger management, behavioral challenges, parenting skills, life transitions, and other obstacles that life tends to throw at us. Tiara serves in North Carolina and in Virginia, and I will repeat her website at the end of the broadcast as well. But if you'd like to know what she's all about, her websites are ppccs.net and getinspiredwithtiara.com. She offers counseling, coaching services, therapy, and professional development. And we are so grateful to have you here with us today, Tiara.
It is an honor to be here. I am so excited. I am.
Great. So I did read a little bit of your bio, but I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your professional background.
Okay. I received my undergrad degree in social work from Elizabeth City State University. I received my master's in social work from Fayetteville State University, and I'm currently working on my doctorate in social work at Capella. I've worked in a wide range of within the social work field. I started off in child protective services, and then I worked my way through enhanced mental health services, outpatient hospital social work, school social work.
Okay.
I've done pretty much everything other than hospice.
Okay.
Within the field.
Wonderful.
And I've even done military counseling as well.
Wow. So I mentioned that you practice both in North Carolina and Virginia. Is that complicated?
At times it can be, especially since this pandemic. The demand for therapy has increased tremendously.
Wow.
So trying to divide and spread myself out among both states has been a challenge since March.
Gotcha.
But somehow I'm making it work.
Well, very good. Very good. What made you want to go into mental health?
Wow, that's a question that I get asked often. I remember in high school, I did an internship at the hospital, and I worked in the geriatric department with people who had dementia, Alzheimer's, and things like that. And shadowing the social work at that time, it made me want to gain more insight on it. I was considering being a child psychologist, but I learned that becoming a therapist was something that I always wanted to do, because you can make changes in people's lives. So that is what drove me to the mental health field.
Very
especially
true.
with individual counseling.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in Gamma Xi Phi, we in our initiative called Check on Me, we created this initiative to not only encourage our members to seek help when they need it, but to sort of encourage the people in our lives to check on us. You know, artists.
And that's so important. So important.
Artists work by themselves so often that people kind of presume we're okay when, we're not necessarily okay all the time. So as you know, today is World Suicide Prevention Day, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about suicide in particular. So what are some of the risk factors of suicide?
Risk factors of suicide can vary amongst different cultures, but within our community, the African American community, I should specify that there's many different things. Of course, we have another pandemic another world crisis that we're currently dealing with, which is racism, that can definitely increase some of the risk factors for suicide. You have those who especially young adults who are trying to figure out life and who are frustrated with trying to figure out life. You may see your friends have things all together, but yet here you are still struggling with trying to get things together. So it increases around the age of 18 when you're trying to figure things out. And then you have sexuality, which is another thing that can increases, especially when family and friends aren't as supportive. Then you have to deal with social bullying on the internet and a lot of other things that can factor into that.
Gotcha. So I was reading some data on suicide prevention in preparation for our talk, and the Suicide Prevention Resource Center says, and I quote, among Black populations, suicide rates peak during adolescence and young adulthood. As you said that magic number 18, then decline. This is a different pattern than is seen in the overall US population, where suicide rates peak in midlife. And we know that's coded language to mean white folks kill themselves later in life, and Black folks tend to do so earlier. So why, you've touched on it a little bit already, but why do you think that is? Why do you think that it hits Black communities at a younger age?
Because we don't have the support that other races have. We don't have the family support that will allow most of our children to stay after the age of 18. Most of the parents within our community at the age of 18, that's when you transition. You have to figure it out. We don't have platforms that are given to us to help us succeed. We really have to figure it out. It's either you go to college, military, or you're just out here on your own. That can be very stressful. Someone who, like, you've never been taught to sustain. So you're just placed out here in the world to float. You're either going to sink or float.
And I can attest to that. Like, I know so many people from African American communities, even Afro-Caribbean communities and whatnot, who are just expected to have a plan at 18 because they can no longer stay at home and receive that support. And
you're not mentally ready at 18. You're not mature enough. I know I made terrible decisions at 18. You're just not ready. You're not ready.
Well, is it true that the human brain is not even fully formed until age 24?
I agree with that. That is true. At 24, most of us have completed college. By then, you're starting to settle down. You're starting to make more mature decisions, better financial decisions. You're trying to explore life in a happier way. Right. 18, you're just trying to have fun, and you're going to do whatever it takes to have fun.
Right. That is that is absolutely true. So one of the key words I'm hearing from you is stress, managing stress. And it sounds like you might agree that we can help prevent suicide by doing a better job at managing our stress. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that.
So how do we do that?
Increasing your support system, knowing when to turn away from things, knowing when to take a break from social media, knowing when to tell people no, and know that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain why you can't be there for that person or why you can't do something. Just learning, especially with work, learning that work-life balance, knowing when to turn work off and let work stay at work. I know a lot of us are working from home now, so that has become difficult, but you still have to have the transition phase from work to personal life.
Right.
It helps.
So there's a lot of talk about self-care.
I love it.
What is self-care really?
Self-care is taking care of you. You are the most component person in your life. And if you don't take care of yourself, how can you be of service to anyone else? You can't pour from an empty cup. And self-care does not have to be expensive at all.
So what are some things? So let's take me for an example. I'm a writer. Okay. I spend most of my days at home in the house. As you know, I live in the country. And so what should I do if people might view my life as one that's rather leisurely because I'm not working in a factory or working on a farm. what should I like? What are 3 things that I could do to take care of myself right now?
One, you can have the work-life balance, especially with being a writer. You're at home. You may find yourself wanting to write at all times, but knowing that, okay, I'll write for 30 minutes to an hour, take a break, which I am an advocate of taking a break and taking a nap. That is something that I do myself for self-care. Another thing that you can do for self-care is trying to do things like you're in the country, go for a walk. Go look at sceneries. There's, especially during the fall time, you have crops that are about to be picked. There's different things that you can do outside of your home that will bring, and sunlight is good for your depression, anxiety, and stress management as well as physical activity. So going for a walk outside is very good. And just trying to engage with people who are going to uplift you, which are your close family and your friends, if they are positive. Most definitely positive.
So I, having been a former teacher, I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
students that don't necessarily have positive home lives. So what if
Mm,
I'm a person that does go home to stress and chaos? You
that's
know, how would I manage that if nighttime is the stressful time for me?
learning. And I just had a conversation about this yesterday, learning when to disconnect. And I know it sucks that you have to emotionally disconnect from your family, but separate yourself. Like if you do have a room that you can go to, go there. And if you do have like AirPods or earbuds, put them in, listen to something positive and uplifting that can help you with tuning yourself out from that environment. Try to read encouraging things, trying to connect with friends who are supportive and more uplifting. And then just try to focus on the end goal. I don't have to be here forever. I'm going to do what I can to be better and to leave.
So I want to kind of take a spinoff on that because
Okay.
in communities of color,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of communities of color in the South, or even in urban areas, we have strong faith communities and faith backgrounds. Many of us are Baptist, Pentecostal, things
Mm-hmm.
of that nature. Um, I am hearing. So how do you think someone can meld their faith with their mental health? Is that
Meld
even
with
possible?
it is. If you combine spirituality and counseling together, it's a dynamic force. But you can't do one without the other if you do practice faith based. You can pray your way out of things, but you also have to put the work in to do it. You do.
That's real.
And I know a lot of people within our community who are heavy on faith based and spirituality. But one thing I've learned, the things that you're pleading and praying about, those are the things that you really should seek out help for. And
Mm,
it's okay to talk to a counselor. Your higher power has placed people here who are trained to help you overcome those obstacles. And
so
one thing I love about our generation, we're for counseling. We are. We are. We
really,
are the generation of change.
truly, that is the
Mhm.
truth.
Mhm.
So you talked about seeking help.
Mhm.
Help our listeners, whether they're members of Gamma Xi Phi or just
Okay.
friends and colleagues. What's the difference between a therapist and a life coach?
There's a huge difference. A licensed therapist is someone who has been trained. You've gone through supervision. You've taken a state board exam. You went through schooling and everything to help people with mental health issues. Life coaches, there are some like certified life coaches, but it's not required. They can help with like life transitions, like minor things. But when it comes to severe mental health issues, it has to be a licensed therapist.
So if that's the case, then what do I
Mhm.
do if I know that I need a therapist, but
Mhm.
I don't have the health insurance for it? Like how
Uh,
how how do I find a good therapist that's also affordable?
Open Path is a very good website and I'm on Open Path as well. They offer reduced rates for clients, as low as $30 for therapy sessions. And
That's
then
really
also,
good.
yes, there's also like with the managed care organizations in North Carolina, you have Trillium, Alliance Behavioral Health, you have Sand Hills. They offer, it's like funding for people who need mental health services, and it can be covered for free.
Wow.
Hmm.
And see, a lot of people don't
And
know about that.
and there also are some online platforms such as BetterHelp and Talkspace that will put you on a monthly payment plan where you pay as needed, and you
Okay.
have access to your therapist more often.
Okay. Very
Hmm.
good. Very good.
Hmm.
So back to suicide.
Yeah.
So Gamma Sci-Fi really pays special attention to suicide prevention among Black artists in
Okay.
particular.
Okay.
The community, we've lost people like Don Cornelius, the creator
Which is
of
amazing. Hmm.
Soul Train. We've lost
Hmm.
Phyllis Hyman,
Hmm.
Chris Lighty, Lee Thompson Young. So right there, that is an actor, a music executive, a television host and producer, and a singer.
Hmm.
So we've already talked about stress, depression, things that lead to suicide. Tell me a little bit about what happens to the community when we lose someone to suicide. What happens to us mentally?
Mentally, it causes strain. You wonder what happened, like how did I miss the warning signs? What could I have done better? And you do have some people who are able to move on with their lives, and then you have those who are heavily impacted by it. And with the question of what could I have done better?
So, say I have a member of my organization or a
Mm-hmm.
friend in my life that has casually mentioned ending it all, has casually seems like they could be suicidal,
Okay.
but I'm not a clinician, so I don't really know. Like, what should I do in that case?
Encourage them to seek help.
Okay.
Encourage them. Even if you have a friend who don't mention suicide, who appear that everything is going great, that still doesn't mean that they're not suicidal. But if you have a friend who's going through some life problems or transitions, or if they feel like they're in a dark space, encourage them to get help.
Okay.
There's even free crisis lines that are for suicide prevention that can help tremendously.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And there's a lot of online resources that are at no cost that can help.
True. So maybe at the end of this, maybe we can put some of those together and we'll put them on
Yes.
our website for everybody
Okay.
to take a look at.
To see,
And we'll
I
and we can give them your link to your website so that if they
yes.
live in Southern Virginia or in Northeastern
Mhm.
North Carolina, they can reach out to you
Mhm.
for assistance as well.
And I
Um,
am a board certified tele mental health provider, which means that if you don't live in those areas, as long as you reside in Virginia and North Carolina, I can do virtual counseling. So,
Perfect, perfect,
mhm,
perfect.
mhm.
Tiara, this has been wonderful.
It has.
Is there anything that you'd like to share that we haven't covered already?
No, I'm just glad that you all are using this platform to bring forth awareness on the importance of mental health and encouraging other people to seek help. It's okay to go see a therapist. We all need to have an outlet to release all of the things that we are going through. Trust me, it works, and it will serve as a benefit. And if you want to get to your destiny, you have to take care of yourself.
You are absolutely right. And
Hmm.
I am someone who has benefited from therapy.
Hmm. Hmm.
I sought therapy since moving down here when there was
Okay.
unfortunately a traumatic incident that occurred
Okay.
on a Zoom call that
Oh goodness.
for it was terrible for a public meeting for another organization got Zoom bombed.
Okay.
So luckily that
Okay.
entity gave us like 3 free therapy sessions, and I was
Oh,
like, don't
awesome.
mind if I
Okay.
do. Um,
Okay.
because I previously I had benefited from therapy because, as I mentioned, I
Hmm.
had been a teacher.
Hmm.
I lost several students to gun violence, so I
Oh
went to a
wow.
therapist. I went thinking I was going for grief counseling, and I
And
ended
it.
up
Hmm. Hmm.
ha- having the
Revealing a
tools,
lot of things.
doing
Hmm.
a lot of things, having the tools to make my life transition from DC to Northeastern North Carolina. So,
Hmm.
and I didn't know that January by that May that I'd be making such moves. But, you know,
Definitely.
the one thing I also want people to know is, somebody's paying your therapist, whether it's through a
Hmm.
grant, whether it's you out of
Hmm.
pocket, whether it's your
Hmm.
insurance. That person is being paid to be your best friend in that 50-minute block.
Exactly.
So you
Hmm.
might as well go.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
are
be truthful.
impartial. They're not going to judge you. They're going
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
you. So as somebody that's benefited, and you as somebody who is doing the work, I encourage everybody listening to this, try therapy, even if you think you don't need it. I bet you do.
Mm-hmm. It works.
It
Therapy works.
it works. Tiara, thank you so very much for
You are
joining
so
us.
welcome.
We're going to put all your information on this website, and to
Okay.
everybody watching, this is World Suicide Prevention Day. Do your part, be a listening ear, and help send your friends to those resources that they may need in times of need. So thank you all very much.
Thank you all.